In this episode, we're going to meet a viewer of this channel. I gave him the chance to ask me anything he wants about Search Arbitrage. And maybe I revealed too much, I don't know. You're going to find out how much revenue per click we see from Search Arb, what we pay on the Facebook side, if we use automations, how we view the situation with leads, and much, much more. It's a jam-packed episode. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
We're live. Yeah.
We are live.
Nice to meet you virtually.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. And thanks for reaching out. The channel is so new, so very happy about every feedback that I'm getting. It's so fresh. Just had the theory that people would appreciate, and now it's working out. So
yeah, I've been doing this like a different version of what you're doing since 2016, and it was I feel like back in the day, like Fight Club, don't talk about arbitrage. Yeah, and it's still like if you go out and look, and if you go out and look for information, there's like maybe Black Hat World, some people who actually know what they're talking about are talking about it there, and there's the Optimizer IO, those guys. Just kind of like in the last year or two, I didn't know they were putting out content, but they're putting out some pretty in-depth, helpful content. And then other than that, it's like a lot of spam. Like people,
there's not that much.
Not actually.
There's not that much.
Kind of one of the only people really talking about it.
Yeah, and because of this, what you describe as this Fight Club mentality, like when we started. Way back then, it was like we didn't even dare to use our own emails, like anonymous emails to communicate about it.
Yeah.
So then, of course, we never get the idea like, hey, let's publish what we're doing on YouTube. But but I found like this year, I haven't gone to so many. I went to conference last year, also a few. But this year, when I went to affiliate summit in Barcelona, it was crazy. There was a Search Arb track and people advertising broadly. We're doing Search Arb and Google representatives showing up at those masterminds. And so that was like unthinkable in the past. I was like, wow, things have changed.
Yeah.
Why not share a little bit then?
Yeah, it's appreciated, and you guys are putting out some really good, helpful info. I think a lot of nuggets in between.
Yeah,
that if you know what you're looking for, they're really helpful.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so you said you got started in 2016. What were your first steps like?
So I had a physical product company. And that came to an end. We sold on Amazon. We were in big box stores in the US. We were in Nordstrom Rack, like 150 locations across the US. And we were in Urban Outfitters online. And we were at one point Amazon top 100 kitchen and dining ranking. So we were selling up to 1,000 units a day. And but it was a really low price item. You have to sell a lot of them to really make a lot of money. So that kind of ended. In end of 2015, had a bad partnership and moved on from that, as you do in business.
It happens to many people.
Yep. No. So then I had a friend who was like, well, you might want to check this out. Maybe you could make some money on the side to keep you going until you figure out the next thing. And so I was like, oh, well, this is interesting. And just was like, oh yeah, I can definitely I'll pay my bills with this in the meantime. And then just kept iterating and grew it pretty fast, grew it up to like 20K a month within probably 4 or 5 months, and kept getting the reporting better. And so like originally the person who said, check this out, wasn't doing any reporting on a URL level. So it was just basically the site, and who knows what was happening or what page was losing money or so started using Supermetrics. Because they're APIs, and they were actually one of the only ones at the time that had an AdSense API. And like just tried to grow it, and just had a really difficult time. Controlling the AdSense RPMs was really difficult. Could get the traffic, and that got more difficult. And I think you guys have talked about it, how the market has gotten more competitive. I know inflation this last year raised sort of the default lowest bid. So we got squeezed on both ends because ad rates this last year were pretty bad and for most of the year. And
so you were buying from Google and sending to Google? Was that the setup? Okay.
Yeah.
So you did AdWords to AdSense?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And a
that's
lot of
not
Bing.
super easy, huh?
No.
Bing was the moneymaker, I assume.
Easier. Yeah. Bing's easier. Google back in the day, like 2017, 2018, we could get 12-cent clicks. And that kind of, that's not happening anymore. And I feel like, real difficult. And I think that my version of it versus what you guys are doing with the Search Arb is that, what was I going to say? Buying traffic. Oh, I have to buy traffic that's like adjacent to the money ads. So like I can't go, if I'm going to run something on dentures, or like what you guys talk about, is that right? Dentures?
Yeah, dental implants.
Dental implants. I can't come close. Yeah. I can't come close to buying traffic on that keyword. Right? So I would have to buy.
Too contested.
There's no way that model would work. So I would have to go, here's an example. I would find a brand term in that space, maybe as seen on TV product or something that's very similar.
Yeah.
And then run on that traffic. For you guys, it's a lot of like the ad itself. For me, it wasn't so much the ad. What was difficult was finding the adjacent to traffic that could get cheap enough. And then on the AdSense side, it was like, manipulating the content enough and the ad placement so that it inspired a click. So essentially above the fold.
You need you need some form of.
So I launched probably like 200 different pages and
different pages also.
Yeah.
So you didn't have one big page that had all your articles.
No.
You can't do that.
The other problem too is it didn't, I guess, work that way. And the other problem was because I had to have very focused, like basically with what the model I was doing, I needed the search term to be in the ad and then the term to be on the landing page.
Oh, so for every keyword you were bidding on?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's complicated.
Yeah, but it's funny because I look at what you guys are doing. I was like, Jesus, that's complicated.
No, it's not. But my journey started the same. That's when we started with Yahoo and Google. But that was like in 2009. But then the problems were different, and it worked. But it was definitely gray hat. At least. And that's then the problem, that you don't have the stability. So luckily, there's white hat things you can do at the large scale. Right. So it's much more relaxing. Right. Yeah.
I have not known that life. I have known a very up and down. When it's good, like I said, I'll do like on a really good month, I'll do 30K profit. I also have months where it's like 7 or 8.
Yeah. I know that phase. I've been through it. But you don't have to. Yeah. You don't have to do it that way. Yeah.
It's like maybe you have a better way.
It's just I had the chance to look at a lot of different examples and learn along the way. For sure. Are you still? Is that still that's your bread and butter? This model that you described?
Yeah. Well. Okay. So I got a little complacent. I know you guys talked about that being coming into play. So I got a little complacent, and then I've been trying to do other stuff. So I have a background in SEO. So I've launched a handful of new organic sites, but that space is changing so rapidly with AI and GE or whatever, and just the way people interact with search is going to be a lot different in the next year or two. So I have a background in that. So I started launching a few projects there, but then, was like, I had come across sort of the search arbitrage, and I had come across the optimizer IO, and I didn't know how to get, to me, the biggest hurdle was getting one of these accounts, like the domain ads for domains.
Like an account with Tonic, or which monetizer
yeah,
do you
but
use?
I didn't know. So I'm just using straight Google AdSense. So I didn't know Tonic or System One existed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have a potential upside as well, because you have the chance to be paid much better that way.
So these are some of my questions that when I reached out to you, I was like, I'm interested. Like, I know like what my math looks like from being in Google and AdSense and how that sort of maths out. But I was curious sort of what the numbers look like, what kind of, and clearly it differs from niche to niche, but just what do clicks look like on Facebook, or cost per click, or CPAs? And then because I'm unfamiliar with AFD, is that right? Ads for domains. That's their program.
Those terms, they get used back and forward, and so it's yes, AFD. Like way back, it was when you had a page via those providers, you could either have it directly display ads. That's AFD feed, AdSense for domains. But like the 2-click, it triggers search ads also. So you could say that's
right.
that is AFS, but it gets mixed around all the time. But for sure, you're getting better rates through the 2-click model than if you would just have your AdSense account and display ads straight away. It's a different bucket. The advertisers see it, they perceive it as this is someone that has typed in the search, and hence they're paying more for that kind of click than a straight up display click. They anticipate a higher intent, and that's why the prices per click are much higher for that kind of traffic.
So for example, on one, I run a significant amount of traffic on one page. The average cost per click on the AdSense side, 40 to 45 cents.
Yeah.
And then I'm buying the traffic at 11 cents.
Okay, there you have a good model, right? I'm trying to answer your question.
It's hard to get that. So so how much, what does that pay, whether say Facebook, and then what sort of pay on the...
I'm going to try to answer your question, but I know already I can't like answer it like directly this. It's going to be this number. And the reason for it is we're running in so many verticals. And so all I look at when I know it was a time that I launched my own campaigns, but when I launched my own campaigns, I wasn't focusing so much on that. Or of course, in the beginning, you look at, is the revenue per click, is it something I can work with? If I start out with like a 10 cents on the revenue side, I know it's going to be very, very difficult. Of course, there are campaigns you can run there as well. If you run at some country, not in the US or the developed world, you can still make money with something that pays 10 cents. If you can buy the traffic for 2, right? That's all that matters. So it's not the absolute number, what am I paying or getting, it's the delta that really matters. Hence why I find, if we just simplify it to, it's all about the ROI that you're getting, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that will of course be determined by the delta that you're getting. And the delta will often be, determined, like how good of an edge have you found? If you found a market where there's not a lot of advertisers on Facebook, a less developed market, in the beginning, like most of internet advertising will of course take place on Google, and then later social media will come and so on. And the less developed the market, I find the bigger the delta tends to be between Google and social media, for instance.
Gotcha.
The given. So
what, just out of curiosity, when you say like the AFD or AFS pays better than AdSense, like just out of curiosity, are we like $10 clicks, $20 clicks, $100 clicks?
You can have, you can have.
Where does that range?
Yes. Okay. It's nice that you bring up that question, because these are questions that I then also focused on much in the beginning of the journey. Like, where are the highest paying clicks? And then
I don't necessarily care. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, like I know what I've seen. In my area, but I'm just what is
Yeah, so
Was that where?
there are verticals with $10 clicks. There are, but they aren't necessarily the best verticals because the scrutiny tends to be higher on clicks that advertisers pay a lot of money for. So I would say the best case would be something that pays okay and there's a lot of volume there, and there won't be like crazy scrutiny on the advertiser side about every click that they receive. But yet there were. Yeah, in the past, say there was a time when rehab was paying a crazy amount. There were $10, $20, $30 clicks there, and one could make a lot of money. But what also decides what you get for a click, it's not directly say what in the keyword tool or the spy tools, and then you're going to get that. You almost never get what the tools are telling you.
Yeah, no, totally.
A part of it, I don't have like scientific proof for it, but the way I say it is like Google, of course, they're very clever about what happens on the page with the traffic that you send them, that they have an ability to determine how good are the visitors that exactly you are sending. And then if a lot of the people, you're going to get higher revenue per click. So definitely the quality of the stuff that you're sending matters. I saw it as an extreme. Like now that I talked about the rehab example, it was around like around 16. Then at that time, email traffic was still allowed. And email is an extreme example because imagine who's clicking on an ad in basically a spam email. It's not many people, but the people that do click, very, very motivated. So all that Google saw is, wow, here's a source, and say 80% of the people convert. This is an awesome source, so we're going to pay more for that. And that's where you saw the highest clicks, a really crazy RPCs. But if I look at the whole portfolio of verticals that we have, the best stuff is not like where the individual click is super, super high. What I'm interested in is where can I run a high volume in a stable manner. And then we don't have those mesothelioma, also classic vertical where mesothelioma lawyer or donate car. Donate car is also a great example. You cannot scale that. There won't be 10,000 people a day that want to donate the car. So the numbers that you see in the tool, like it's going to be very difficult, if impossible even, to get those numbers.
Yeah. And I saw in an episode you guys were talking a little bit about profit. And I'm guessing, are you looking more at your RPM sort of? Are you looking, not at your cost per click, but just like your cost per action? And then going off your profit margin, you said that you like to push it hard. Like what?
I think
10%. Where's your kind of...
most people will answer that they aim for ROI between 20 and 30%. So that's also where we aim. I tend to get, if you get a 50% ROI, and then I think you could push it harder. Like I'd be interested to see how much more volume can you push until you reach because of course your ROI is going to go down when you push over more traffic. How much more can you send until you reach your own threshold? And then, depending also on your cash flow situation. Like this assumes that cash flow is not an issue. Of course, if you have a limited cash flow, then you have to go for the stuff that gives you the highest ROI. But if cash flow is not a thing, then I would say maybe 20% or so. It really depends on the finances and how you get paid and how fast and how much firepower you have.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And that's what I said in this example, that when I manage campaign managers, like for them, I understand that it's a pleasure. It's relaxing to see how my campaign is like a clockwork every day. Money comes in and the ROI is good. I feel good about myself. But I think that's a bit of a trap, that where it pays, like you should always try to be very hungry for even more capitalistic game, right? It's just about grabbing as much money as you can.
So what, out of curiosity, because it seems like with the spy tools, and that everyone's copying everyone and it's sort of race to the bottom. Like what do you see, like what sort of, I know it clearly depends niche by niche, but just to get a general idea, a vertical, or so I'll call it a campaign in AdWords or Bing, but I'm targeting a certain keywords or a certain, I think you guys use the word vertical. What are like the average lifespan of once you get something profitable?
Depends on the platform a lot.
Yeah.
So TikTok will be much shorter lived. But with Facebook, we've had campaigns that run for years. But it doesn't like the campaign doesn't mean the campaign is like untouched. You need to refresh it. Also, as with TikTok, you need to put in new ads. But there's no reason to shut it down, really. So you can have that longevity.
And I heard you guys talking about user-generated content ads, and that you're doing quite a bit of that. Do you feel like, because that seems to me, when you say, let's say, a lot of work, like that seems to me like a lot of work. But it does seem like it might eliminate some of your competition that doesn't want to go in and put in that work. Are you finding that, or is just everyone like, nope, we'll make these UCG ads and this is the game, we're all playing it?
So it has changed. A year ago, I would have answered differently, but it goes like with everything. I think your optimal perception of your ads is that this is not an ad. This is some form of organic content. This is a recommendation from a friend. And I think that's what UGC ads, what made them successful. I think many users are relatively confused what shows up in the feed, and maybe they don't even know, is this someone I know, or what is this? And so it's very much like someone just like a normal person. It doesn't feel like a classic ad, and that's why I think it was successful. But I think in the meantime, more and more people have caught up to it and maybe have gotten used to it, that ads can look like this too. So I think their efficiency has gone down over the last year. So I think it would always be in advertising that if you find something new that's still good, you're going to have more success. It is a creative business in the end too. Sometimes I tell, when I coach campaign managers, it's like you're telling a joke. You can't tell the same joke over and over. You need to find new ways to tell the joke so that you still have the effect there. But but UGC still works, but it's more of an effort. But luckily now there's tools where you can do really good voice overlay or over whatever video very quickly. And you don't necessarily need someone that films themselves and talks into the camera. But everybody has their way of doing it. I know a guy, he records all his ads himself and talks into the camera.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's then an example. You mentioned it's a race to the bottom and everybody's doing it. Yeah, sure, there is. But you find that a lot of people, they just copy some other stuff, or they do it without love for the creative. Like there's many ways that you can have an edge. Like you got to find some form of edge. Maybe you're much faster at testing things, or maybe you have a better deal at the monetizer, or your ads are just a bit better. I find the quality of the ads is relatively low. And you're saying, yes, it's a race to the bottom, especially UGC ads. Like everybody's asking, where can I get it as cheap as possible? And there's also like a race there. There's people offering to give you a UGC ad for $2, but what kind of quality is going to be there, and how credibly is it going to be delivered? So then in comparison, the dude that runs his own campaigns and records his own videos, which really doesn't take that much work, but he's really has a vested interest that these ads will be good. So they're really different than someone that launches ads that they've bought on Fiverr for like $400 or whatever. Yeah.
I was going to say, I saw, and this kind of leans into a different area of questions I had, but I know there are platforms where you can connect with creators to get these ads made. Have you used any of those before?
A little bit, yeah, but it's not so a creator on that platform will have received requests from like normal brands. They won't understand. Like an ad that is for Search Arb will be different than an ad for a brand. And you'll find that they don't deliver how you want. You need to teach them a little bit how you want them to deliver it. I find it helps there you can take an ad from a spy tool and you can basically say, I want you to deliver this here in the same way, but yeah, make it your own. Don't do it verbatim. Also important, is otherwise they would just many people just do it verbatim and not so great. And that's also one thing that came up in one of the episodes that we have online, that it's good when you order, if you go through that, if you already know what are your keywords or RS, as we call them, related searches, the first thing, what are they going to be? So of course you should see it like a chain. Everything should be very tight. Optimally, the creator will talk exactly about your best performing keyword and ensure that the viewers then, this is what I need to click here. So they're like, because of course it would be a turnoff when you see the part page. It's not a beautiful page. They need to be interested enough to keep on clicking. Yeah. It needs to be a reason. Why should I keep on clicking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, to me, it's surprising to get why I'm just constantly surprised on what people click on. Part of me is like, how this actually works. It's remarkable. Yeah. So I'm curious, have you guys got into selling leads? Because a lot of this work leads right up to, like potential, you're partnering with brands or done any monetization of it, because basically you've got this process now.
Yeah, of course the ideas come up, but here's something that we also try to stress in, like when we give people tips and so, it's important to keep it simple, not to overcomplicate things. And I find many people that now come into the space, they're very focused on a lot of details and want to measure everything. And also the optimizer, it might be a phenomenal tool, but I find when you don't run a lot of campaigns, when you're just testing the water, you don't need all the features there and worry about day parting and all of that. Because if you find the winner, you don't need to tinker a lot of things. When you find something that works, as you have probably experienced too, it's already after a day you can see this works. That's how a winner looks that you can scale. It's rare that you start out with something and you make 30% loss and then you can optimize your way to a phenomenal vertical. It could be like if you have your creative totally wrong or not appealing at all, or this assumes that you have good creatives that people are interested to click. There you can have like night and day effects, I find. But if you know in your own heart that your creators are really great and you still get a minus 20%. And this here to know that your creators are great, that's why I find it so important to have a reference of someone doing ARB successfully at a high level. If you then include an ad that's heavily inspired by it, that's your benchmark. Right? If you do the same theme, and then I try to think of when I have that, and then now I try to make it more aggressive. I need to make it better. Then the next, how can I dial it up a little bit? And I try to dial it up in a few different directions, and then I feel for myself that I've given it an honest try. I make sure that the keywords are the same. If it doesn't perform, then I don't know. It's not worth it to. I find optimize around a lot. There's so much to test.
I'm sure. So what is like a decent hit rate, like new things launched to?
Yeah, but that depends on your volume. That depends on your volume. If you test 200 things in a day, you're going to have a different hit rate than if you see and you make 2 tests or so. But I don't know. I think we're at, say, a third or something like that.
A third, 30%.
A third are successful, but it's so dependent on what's your intelligence of the market. That's super, super important. Yeah. If you have no clue, If you just randomly test things, then the success rate would be very different, of course.
What do you think the general ARB pool, like the people of doing search, what do you think the general average?
No, that I don't have a real insight into.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed over time is that people do ARB in very different ways. I've hired people that have done ARB over years. And then I find, oh, okay, what they're doing doesn't work at all with our model. He has just to go a little deeper on that guy. He was in an organization. Their edge was that they had built tech that they could launch and test very quickly. They put very little emphasis on the creative. The creative is very, very bland, super plain vanilla. But their edge was just that they test so much that they will find those rare instances there where it still works out, even though your creative is super bland. Yeah. So it's really about the edge that you can bring where you can be better than the others. And for me, I found it easy to, okay, the edge is, okay, I have good relationship with the monetization partners simply because I've done it so long. And I found it's where I like to concentrate more is to make the creatives a bit better. I find it's relatively little effort. I get a good payout. But that's simply because I'm not a developer. If I would have been a developer, maybe I would have then used that edge instead. You asked me something else that I missed to. I'm sorry, I forgot, but there was an unanswered question.
No, it's late there for you, so I get it. So I had we could move to, so I was asking about, I think, your media buying, and then just like possibly different monetization methods, I think was my question. Like whether
yes, you asked about the
drop
leads
shifting or leads.
If you do leads,
in the lead selling.
So that has been on the agenda, and we played with the thought. But I find Search Hub is so great because you don't have there's so many potential problems that are taken care of. Like you don't need a warehouse, and I love not to have customers. I don't want anyone to call me. But not that I have to serve the customer. I've done that for a long time. And I enjoy it greatly that nobody is calling me. I don't have any customers. And I don't want to change. I don't want to get into that business. Of course, I could hire people to do it. And I've seen there's really good media buyers that have gone that route, that they then upsell. And I've had the chance to look closer at their systems. But it's like building up a different business. It takes a lot. You need to then. One thing was they had a very elaborate system to manage all the contracts that they then write. And then I find myself like, okay, should we put effort on that, or should we just buy more traffic and make our existing business better? I find if I would feel, we've really hit the ceiling here, we can't buy anymore, then it would make sense to branch out. But I constantly feel I'm just scraping the surface. There's so much more out there to get. It's almost infinite.
Gotta have it. I gotta get it.
So why? And then if we have a skilled team that know what they're doing, and there's more to grab,
and you're optimized. And you're optimized for this current setup. So
yes,
it makes sense.
So it's almost like I sit in the golden cage. It's like too good to leave. I don't want to leave it.
And I think that was where I wasn't making nearly the money I think you're probably making or have made. But I felt that golden cage. And basically the only thing that forced me out of it was AdSense is making this change to pay on impression instead of pay per click. And that's going to potentially destroy my model.
It's not sure though. It depends how good they are. I found that when I started buying on Facebook, then I was also like, want to pay, I have to pay just per impression. How can that work? It just depends how good the targeting is. Yeah, I wouldn't. That's not a given.
It's on the AdSense side. So the people are still going to pay per click on the buy side, but on the
Okay.
AdSense side, they're going to
Oh.
pay. They're not going to pay per click anymore.
Oh,
They're
okay.
going to
Yeah,
pay
but
per
then
action.
yeah, but then you
So
should
then you have
totally
to
open an account with one of the monetizers. They pay you per click.
Yes. Yeah. But you can't run traffic straight to a parks page. You have
No,
to,
you can't.
they don't allow it. So you have to do an interstitial.
Yeah, but I understood you that you already didn't you have to do that now?
No, I run to a content. I run to a page on my website with ads.
Aha. But it was like a mix, a little bit of text and then ad units.
Yep.
Was that it?
Image.
Okay. So I am going to tell you something that is now, it's relatively new, and probably the next episode is going to go into a little bit more depth about that. So there's a new product, it's called RSOC, Related Searches on Content. And then it's going to be, have you heard about it? Are you familiar?
I know. Funny story. Yeah, I know about it. Yeah.
Okay. But just for the listeners then, it's a product where basically the first part of the park page will go on to the content page. So then it will be relatively similar to what you have. Okay, another click will be required, but it's still, and I believe it can be I'm relatively bullish on next year. I think it would be, could be a very good addition to the Search Arb space, and it could be it could become the most important channel. So for now, the rev share that is being offered to the monetizers is only good for desktop traffic, and it should be, there was talk about at the end of the year that mobile should also be added to it. So far the tests have only, you could only test with desktop traffic, which of course limits you quite a bit, but soon mobile should be competitive as well.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, because some people are thinking like they're not going to totally go away from pay-per-click. Some people's idea is they're going to hide that data. They're not going to show you the clicks. They're not, but that will be the influence behind the revenue, right? Like it's still the same basic, essentially model. They're just going to report on it based off of ad impression instead of click. And I think that probably makes the most sense to me, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
But for sure, we'll have a lot of opportunities to do Search Arb in the new year, whatever happens. There's always an opportunity.
Yeah, there's always an opportunity. I like that. I like that mindset. Yeah. So I have a couple more questions on Facebook as if I was getting into this new version of our Search Arb, as you refer to it. Like, how does the account, would you advise a new person to use their own Facebook account? I know that you can rent agency accounts. I know people like, it seems to be, there seems to be a whole ecosystem, or like there's software like Ads Power, or there's another one that's more popular to manage and keep them on different IPs. And is that considered too complicated? Or what's your
look? I think we should assume this here. Search Arb is not a taboo anymore. We don't have to hide. So if you begin directly with accounts from someone else or IP rotation around, and then the risk is high that then they will say, okay, here's someone that is playing some funny business. Like your risk might go up with that. I would come back to, let's try to keep it as simple as possible. The simplest thing you can do is that you advertise via your own account. But when I say your own account, I don't mean Facebook oddly gives you the option to, you can advertise with your name behind your private account behind it, or you can open a business manager account. So that you should definitely do. It's almost, say, an LLC. It's, if something goes down and Facebook doesn't like it, it affects the business manager primarily, instead of when you do it under your own account, then you directly get all the crap for it. You can still get crap
That's
for
what
it
I
if you
was.
do bad stuff with your business manager, but you're like a bit more detached. So you should definitely go into the business manager side of things. And yeah, Facebook, it varies over time. Like right now, it's really good, but we've worked for a long time with them. I don't know exactly what is it like today if you start totally from scratch. So I would assume a little bit careful approach. So with that, I mean, open the business manager, then you create a page, and then you run something like that cannot get banned. So you can just run a like campaign for your page. Just buy likes for $10 a day for a few days. And then you've come over the first hurdle. Because I think if you're totally unknown and you start totally fresh, of course, there will be more scrutiny on your account. But so then you manage to spend money without agitating anyone. That's your first step. And then I would probably, if you have content pages, then try to run it via that first a little bit.
Yeah.
And then after a while, then you can see in your business manager that you get an indication of what's your trust level by seeing how many ad accounts do you get assigned. If they think that you're a shady guy, then you will only get one ad account, at least in the past. But if you're in good standing, you'll get 5 ad accounts straight away. So there's a little bit of a signal where you can see like how much do they like you to begin with. And then, if you have a few ad accounts, if you have your 5 ad accounts, then and you run the like campaign, you run a content page campaign, then you maybe try a direct to party with a safe vertical. So they have rules like health is often more sensitive than what is very air conditioner, AC units or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you just feel it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have a calm and nice entrance to this whole thing. And then if you would still get banned and run into a lot of problems, then okay. Then I would look into services where you buy an account or so. But luckily I have never had to do that. I wouldn't like to do that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
definitely
you can
being accounts shut down on me.
Yeah. You can also...
They were pretty sensitive.
Yeah. But you could also ask a friend if you could set up a business manager via their account, for instance. But hopefully you won't even run into that. They have to have the impression that Facebook, they know this, they make a lot of money on it. So it's not something exotic or provocative necessarily.
Okay. Let's see.
But here I also want to add, there are, make sure that you really know Facebook's policies. Like for a while, it was very sensitive to write you in the ad or to write things that give the target the impression that Facebook knows a lot of things about them. So especially health, like you would be banned very quickly. It's like, oh, so since you have cancer, you are probably interested in this here. Like that you give it like, oh, Facebook knows that you probably have an illness. They they shut down directly. So it should be in general. There's a lot of details and probably good YouTube videos about how to avoid aggravating Facebooks. That's worth spending time on because they're not all intuitive.
Gotcha. And imagine they just have a really long and boring policy page that you could go through and pick that stuff up.
Yes.
Okay. As far I know, you guys had an episode on testing.
Yeah.
Is the other guy in that video, is he with your company or is he another ARB? He's he's a
only people from the company.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he's the CEO actually. The guy that I talked with. Yeah, that video.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were talking about testing ads and a little bit about, touch base on campaign setup and stuff. But I was curious, if you're familiar with the 322 ads, is that a part of your process, as well as like the variation testing that's that Facebook, the dynamic variation testing? Do you guys utilize that technology or?
So that you put several creatives in one ad, is that it? And several copy elements, and yeah, sure. Yes, we use it. I like when you don't run a lot, I think you can afford to go a little bit deeper. And I know they've changed the interface a bit. I'm not up to speed, but in the past, when you use their way of mixing everything around, you wouldn't be able to see what's the winning combination. It might be that is the way it's done. That would be, I find it very important. I want to know what's the best one. I don't want it to be a black box. So if you don't get full information and you don't run high volume, then I would say just do them one by one, that you absolutely know what is the best thing to push here. Because the better you understand the audience, of course, the better your ads are going to be.
Sure.
Yeah. But I come back to like, I tell you the technique from my approach. Other people will do it different. It comes back to really what's the edge. That's how I found the edge.
Gotcha. Okay. And then are you doing anything in Facebook automations to auto correct for your profit? So if you're not profitable for 3 days, then
way too little. Hardly anything.
Okay.
You can make a lot of money without any automations. Okay. Not, I wouldn't start, or I didn't think about that for a long time. I could do a lot before thinking about it, but automations I find good when you have a team, because I found the most common thing, one of the most common things that I went and had to like remind campaign managers to keep on doing is to increase the budgets or to decrease the budgets. And there I find, okay, then that would be handy if there's an automation that takes care of it. That's the most common error, that people either let a losing campaign run for too long, or a great campaign run without any expansion. A very common error.
Yeah. And so this is you brought up briefly as a complication, day parting. With my model, EMs vary vastly.
They do.
During time periods. Yeah. So we shut off ads like 4 p.m. because by that point, definitely not making money. The margin's gone. And in fact, there's probably like a 4-hour window in the morning where I make most of your money. So do you see the RPMs vary like that on the part page?
Yeah, absolutely. But at least like with Facebook, the more you mess around and you restrict the more expensive it gets. So if you start to get fancy, work with day parting, your price is going to go up. And then again, it comes back to, it's all about the delta. And many times the delta is more positive if you just say, Facebook, here you go, do whatever you want. I keep buying the whole day. And despite that, the RPMs drop, you still make more money. But it's not, it's always going to be that way. But it often is. It often is. And that's a good example again to be like, to hit home again, try to keep it as simple as possible. Because there are so many levers you can pull, and you can get lost in the details, and you can become really slow and test much less. That's really tricky. That's how I would describe, that's a tricky piece for this. Like this kind of spiel of business or so, that there's some levers that are very important, and there's some levers that are not important. And you just have to have a feeling for when is it enough, or where should I really devote my attention.
What do you feel like is the hardest part to control? Do you find it's the hardest to get traffic, or is it hardest to monetize and have the RPMs be high enough?
I find that it varies over time. Like in the beginning of the journey, then it was like very difficult to get the traffic and to keep the accounts going. Nowadays, that's not difficult. And monetizing is also not difficult. I find it's difficult to scale. It's difficult because you will have to get more people on deck, and you will have to train them and make sure that they do well, and build systems to help them to succeed. And that I find is a big hurdle where probably many search arbiters, they don't want to jump over that because it's comfortable to run your one-man shop, not worry about all the potential problems and fires that come with if you hire a team. So I'd probably say that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And how long have you been running a team? When did you cross the line?
We were a team from the beginning, but then it was like we were a group of like we'd worked already, and like friends and business owners together. So that was helpful to have someone to discuss with, and then to go through your highs and lows and all of that. That I would definitely, I wouldn't have had that as much success if I didn't have that at all. I benefited greatly from that. But that I find is different than adding employees to the mix. Yeah, when did we add arbitrage employees? It took us maybe 3 years or something criminal like that. And then when we added, way too careful and super slow, and because we hadn't prepared the system nicely, then we had to get super intelligent, excellent people that run it, because they had to do everything from start to finish. We didn't think about, you can split it up. If you split it up, then your hiring pool increases a lot.
Yeah.
So I would definitely approach it from splitting it up and because there's so many annoying, slow things that you have to do. I find like running your shop on your own, it's like you're running in molasses, because there's like, you got to register the domain, and now you got to create your creative, and now you have to research the keyword, and all these things that don't require like crazy intelligence or insight, but they just need to be done. So it's a process of, let's remove everything that slows down the campaign manager, and optimally the campaign manager, everything is taken care for him or her. Mm-hmm. And all they do is to look at the numbers and make decisions. Okay, should we scale or contract, or what should we do now? Or should we go in a different direction? That takes, right? That takes a certain mindset to do. But then it would be a shame if you have such an asset to then say, but then you also register domains and do Google image searches or whatever. But that's what we did in the beginning with the first hires. And then that takes a special person that can do everything. Right, because you got to be creative, you got to be analytical, and all of that.
And you have to understand. You have to run the breadth of knowledge and skill sets for sure. Yeah,
that's it.
Interesting. Yeah. What would you say like a good solo or two-man shop can do in this space?
That depends on the time. When there's something new, you have a honeymoon phase with it. There was a honeymoon phase with TikTok. There was a honeymoon phase with Facebook. Then you can do, during that phase, you can do maybe 10K a day alone.
Okay.
If you do something really well, you can do that.
Yeah.
But now, as you say, it has gotten more competitive. And just the fact that people are talking about Search Arb openly, and there's tracks and masterminds and people that you meet randomly at the show, they're like, I want to give Search Arb a try. That never happened before. So then, of course, it's a bit more competitive. So I know that it comes back to like how big and important your edge is. It's really different. Sure. Everybody does it different. It's almost impossible to give, one man will do that, but for sure, like $1,000 a day, you should be able to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're doing it, right? But like stay.
In a stable way. Yeah. And that's the problem. And like I said, I have this impending AdSense change. So we'll see. There's a fair amount up in the air.
But I would, I would recommend I think I also said that in some episode, that when you get in touch with the monetizer, be very clear about who you are and what you've done. Because not everybody, if they don't know, like not everybody gets the same deal. So it helps to start a conversation and to say what you plan is, what you project, and what you need from them in order to deliver.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And then as far as are the RSOC, are they providing those only to, from what I understand, they're tricky to get. Is that just a connection basis?
You can get it through the monetizers.
You can.
Yes. Not all of them, but that's a great question when you talk with them. Say, you can inquire about that, and then also they will notice, okay, you're not like a total beginner, and yeah, see what they say, and contact them all. I would say it's not that many, because it matters a lot about the vibe.
One, but
yeah, but perfect. They have RSOC, for instance, so I would definitely try with them then, but also with the others to see. Because you never know. Yeah. There's another black box, and the only way to find out is that you send the same traffic with the various destinations and just see where do you get the most money. And then when you see, then you can contact the other ones and say, "Hey, you're underperforming. What can you do?" And then it might very well happen that the performance goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I've done that, like back in the day when I did more affiliate stuff, sell enough. Hey, can you increase my payout? Sure. Can you run some more traffic? Sure. Can you increase my payout? Sure.
Yeah.
Stair steps. Yeah.
So there's a certain hustle and negotiation element to this here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's most of my questions. Honestly, it was great
cool.
to get on a call with you. And
yes.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Putting out all this great information.
Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah. Let's stay in touch. Let me know how it went. Yeah.
Totally. Sounds good.